I think all this rotates around my visa story. Uh, it was one of the most difficult moments I've ever experienced. Uh, so this is how it all began. Once you're done with GMAT, you proceed to the school application process, then you go to the visa stage. So I booked for my first visa appointment on 20, it was scheduled for 23rd October. I don't know, forgive me if I might not be so exact with the dates, but I think I'll try to remember. So my first visa interview was scheduled for 23rd of 13th of October. I've remembered, 13th of October. So I thought I was quite prepared. We did a couple of sessions with the Kenya Airlift team. Of course, they train you on some of the things you might want to address during an interview, a visa interview. Just like any other interview, you also need to prepare for the visa interviews. So I did preparation, we did mock interviews, and I was very confident when that time came. So I went to the interview, and my interview was very early in the morning, around 7:30. So I walked into the room. There are other processes which I don't think I can remember vividly all of them, but I can just remember the actual interview, the way it happened. So I walked into the booth, the interview booth. I got the visa officer, and I was asked just one or two questions. And I think those officers are very intelligent because they have done a lot of these interviews severally. So when you walk into the booth, they can easily just tell by looking at you on whether they should issue you a visa or not. And I think I was kind of nervous. I don't know. I could not explain. But after answering the two questions, I was simply handed a pink slip. I didn't imagine it was anything serious until that point when I read what was in the slip on my way out of the booth. That's when it dawned on me that this was actually a denial. And especially after going through all the other processes, GMAT, school application processes, and all that, I thought this was a major setback. It really hit me hard, by the way. So I left the embassy. Uh, I went back and sat somewhere and just thought about this whole thing. Um, since this thing, when I started this process, I had not informed a lot of people. Actually, no one in my family knew about the things I was doing, because I know it was, especially the visa process, is never that straight. So I just wanted people to know when I'm done. So on that day, just to show you how serious it was, I was disappointed to the extent that I decided to book for a hotel in Ngara. I'm sure, Wilfred, you're hearing about this for the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went to a hotel in Ngara, spent the night there. I switched off my phone, uh, and I started, like, in the evening. I started thinking about the next step, because I just didn't want to give up. So I remember that same evening, I sent out an email to the embassy. In the evening, at around 6 or 7, I sent them an email. I asked them to explain to me why they feel they denied me the visa, so that in the event I want to reapply again, I might avoid some of the mistakes I made. And they replied, of course, the following day, telling me that that is at the discretion of the visa officer. So in short, I didn't get a clear answer. But the following day, I made a decision to that I'll reapply for the visa again. So after some time, I reapplied for the visa. Like I actually reapplied the following day, to be precise. You remember I did the interview on 13th.
Yeah.
On 14th, after uh, I have uh, I've gone through the disappointment, and I've recovered. I thought this is something I would want to give a try. So the following day, I just made a decision to try and look for a slot. So luckily by that time there were not so many interviews, and I actually rebooked for another visa interview.
Yeah.
I got a date for 25th of October, which is, is exactly what I think 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks, slightly less than 2 weeks. And for this one, I didn't want to take chances. So the night, I remember the night before that second interview, I didn't spend at home in my house. I booked for a hotel. I spent there that evening doing a lot of rehearsals in the bathroom, in the whatever space, like a madman, just preparing because I do want to take chances this time around. So I woke up the following day, went for the interview. To my surprise, I got another pink slip. And the reason was that their reapplication was too quick.
Yeah.
They believed that nothing might have changed uh, about my situation. So that was a second denial. I came back this time around. I went home because I had become a bit stronger about these denials. I went back to my house and just thought about it. Of course, I could not tell anyone. I kept on keeping this stuff to myself, except of course Bob is the only one who I used to update whenever the results come out. So I thought about it again, and I told myself I will not die if I give it a third trial, a third and final trial, which I did. And by that time, the slots had started decreasing. So I got a slot for 1st of December. Remember,
So
this
that's
was
after how long?
actually I was doing the following day.
The following day.
Yeah, I reapplied on 26th.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did on 25th. Then on 26th, I reapplied for my third attempt. So
Despite the warning from the embassy.
yes, of course. I just didn't want, as long as what I was doing was legal enough, because um, that is what matters. As long as I know what I was doing was the right thing, because according to the embassy, there are no timelines, but of course, they usually want to see certain changes about your situation by the time you are reapplying. And I knew I had what it takes to get this visa approved. So I reapplied the following day, again on 26th, and I got a slot for December 1st. So remember, this time anxiety was just killing me. I was at work, but I could not concentrate. And at the same time, I could not tell anyone what I was going through. And I told myself I will not keep up with this anxiety until December 1st. I'll keep checking. If I get an earlier date, I'll just make a gamble. And there was this one day on 2nd of December. That is exactly a week after the second denial, at night, because I used to check those slots throughout the entire night. So at around 4 a.m., I was just through that portal. Then I found the next day was available, which was third. That was second when I was checking. So the next day, which was third, I got us. Somebody had dropped a slot, and I just decided to take it up the following day. So that means I had just one day to fully prepare for this interview. So on third now, which is the following day, I now went for what I would call my final attempt. Of course, in my mind, I had made a decision that this was going to be my final attempt for this particular season. So I went for the visa interview very early in the morning. I remember it was heavily raining that morning. So I took an Uber, went to the embassy very early. We were rained on because when you arrive early, before the embassy opens, you just have to hang around outside the gate, and there are no shelters there. It's a very small shelter, I think, for the security officers. So, and we were many. I think the embassy is usually full most of the time. So, many of us there. As early as 5:45, there are already people there. So we waited for the embassy to be opened, and then we went straight in. And my time for the interview came. When my time for the interview came, I found myself on the same counter um, of the visa officer that denied me in my first attempt. And I think there is a way they look at the system, and when they check your last name, they're able to tell who denied you the your visa in your previous attempts. So when he saw that he was the one who denied me, he simply told me to go to the next counter, that he was not going to interview me again. I think that's their protocol. I really don't understand. So when I went to the next counter, I was interviewed by a lady who had not interviewed me previously. So the interview went quite well, but what the visa officer, I don't know whether she knew, was that on that third attempt, I was more nervous than I had been in all the previous attempts. I was extremely nervous because to me, this was this was a big decision to come and study and do my master's and improve my career. That for me was a major decision that I was not taking chances. So on this third attempt, I was extremely nervous because it was a do or die affair. So, but I tried to calm myself down, and the conversation really went on well. Um, so the visa officer asked me what has changed, and that's obviously a question that anyone who wants to reapply for a visa interview must always prepare for. The visa officers would want to know what has changed, and if you are not able to clarify that clearly, most of the time they will just deny you, even if there is no reason to deny you. So that's one tip that probably someone there would want to pick up.
You're watching Success with Bob Mwiti Show, presented to you by Upstack America. Upstack America is a consulting company that helps immigrants find amazing higher education and job opportunities in the tech industry in the United States. You can find our programs by going to www.upstackamerica.com. Upstack America, we wake you up to the unlimited potential.
So I was able to articulate myself quite well. And I was surprised when I eventually got a blue slip. So I don't know, I was not so excited when I left the counter, even with the blue slip, because after what I had gone through, uh, I, I was not so sure this thing was happening. So on my way out, as I left, that's when it started dawning on me that eventually my visa has been approved, which of course they remain with your passport, and then they tell you to pick up your visa at your selected location in about 3 to 5 working days. So at that point, now I started making calls to my people close to me, informing them about everything that I've been doing since May. This is now in December. That's when I was telling people for the first time about what I've been up to, because I thought now this thing is coming to an end. So I made calls to a few friends, a few relatives, informing them about it, and they congratulated me. We celebrated together, of course, on the phone. And then I went home. So I waited the first day, the second day, the third day. It takes 3 to 5 working days for you to get back your visa ready. So after the third day, of course, now my expectations started getting higher, because this is the time they stated. So I waited the third day, the fourth day, fifth day, nothing, no communication. The following week, which was now the sixth day, I started becoming anxious and all that stuff. So I kept on checking whether, just to justify my situation. So I kept on consoling myself, going to different blogs of people whose visas might have taken longer than the stipulated 5 days. And I could get a few consolations here and there. And then I could keep quiet. It took that whole week up to Friday when I kept on waiting. By Friday, when I checked the portal, I discovered it had suddenly changed from visa approved to visa refused.
What?
And it hit me with a shock because they have always stated clearly that it takes 3 to 5 days for someone to get their visa. And my visa had been approved. What is this that happened? So because I discovered this Friday afternoon, I could not follow up with the embassy. So I waited for Monday, the following week now. I made calls to the embassy just to find out, and they told me the best they can do is just to advise me to keep waiting. If there is any communication, they will communicate. So I waited, and three days later, which I think on Wednesday now, we are talking about 2 weeks, the second week after my visa interview, I got an email that my documents are ready for collection at DHL. And I was very excited. I was just waiting for the morning to come so that I can go and pick my visa eventually and start my journey to do my master's in the US. So when I went to DHL that particular day they had stated, I got the parcel, opened it there, and then I could not wait to go and open it at home. So I opened it there, and then I just sat on the bench. The first document I saw in that parcel or package or whatever it is was a yellow slip. And it really hit me hard because, by that time I had done a lot of research and knew about all these colors for this visa slip. So I knew about the denial, the approval, colors and all. So when I saw the yellow slip, it just dawned on me that something wrong has happened. I have 2 pink slips, which means denial for those who don't know. I have a blue slip, which means approved, right?
Yeah.
And now here we are talking about the 4th slip, which is a yellow.
You have all the colors.
So I have all the colors, 4 colors, 1 person, and all this is happening in a span of less than 2 months. So I read it, and they had ticked somewhere that the option they had settled for is that I wait for them to contact me. I should not contact them to follow up. There is no reason they are giving, but they just stated that I need to wait a little longer for them to review my case. They could not state exactly what was missing. I think in most cases they specify whether there is a document missing or something like that, but in this case it was just open. So this hit me so hard, Wilfred, and that brings me to what I was telling you before today about taking a vacation.
Yeah.
So what I simply did, because I had been through pressure for some time, this time I thought I was going to die. So I just decided to take a vacation. I called my mom from the village. I lived in Nairobi City in Kenya. So I called my mom from the village. I brought her, I told her to join my family so that we just go for a vacation in Mombasa. So we went to Mombasa for 3 days just to ensure that I calmed down, because this thing was taking a toll on me. Yeah, at that point I had told them, remember I told them when my visa was approved eventually. And you see, for someone who has not gone through the visa process, when you tell them that my visa has been approved and then again you are telling them the process has stopped in a way, it's hard for them to understand. So what I did, I just told, okay, we didn't discuss so much about the yellow thing because they for sure don't understand. So we went for the vacation. We tried uh, I tried to forget about all this stuff as much as I could. So after 3 days, we came back, and to my surprise, the moment we arrived in the morning, I decided to check my email because, you know, at some point I stopped checking my emails uh, because I knew nothing was going to change. So this particular day when we came back, I thought, let me try and check my emails again today. And I checked, immediately I checked, I found an email that had been sent just a few minutes before I could check. And it was an email from the embassy telling me to resubmit my documents, to take back my passport and all that to DHL, so that they can process my visa. I think in my mind, I knew that Afro cinema was continuing, so I never took it so seriously. Of course, I just did what they wanted because it was an easy task, just taking my documents to DHL. It would cost me nothing. But my expectations were almost zero. So I did just that. And 3 days later, they emailed me uh, telling me that my documents have been delivered back to DHL. So I think that brings me back to the finality of this whole story. I got my visa eventually after 2 denials, 1 approval, and 1 administrative processing. I have all those 4 colors, those 3 colors in my house. I actually came with them here in the US just for memories. At some point, I was asking myself, is there something within this entire application process that I might not have done right? But I kept on checking and I could not find a particular thing. Maybe something for someone to learn from this whole journey is that, guys, as long as you are doing the correct thing the right way, persistence is very important in life. It's very important because I know of people who we went with in my first attempt. They got denied and they gave up on this entire thing. And when you talk to them, they never even think of ever reapplying in future. And probably they have halted their dreams in a way. Yeah, so I came to the US to pursue Master of Science in Business Analytics at the University of Louisville. That's where we are. This is exactly my 4th month uh, since I came. The journey has been, obviously, as expected, it's not easy because these are 2 different cultures, 2 different environments. But I think the people here are quite warm and welcoming. Most of the time, as long as you are willing to get help, people are really willing to assist where they can. So the food has been a challenge, but I think I'm catching up because at some point I got a job at a restaurant, a part-time on-campus job as required by my visa status. So I worked at a restaurant for some time, and I think because I have been eating their foods there, right now I would say I'm catching up. But since I also live in my own apartment, Wilfred, I do cook my own ugali. I have some good unga over there. I've looked around and gotten a few stores that store African food. So I wouldn't say it's really a hassle to get African food if you really want to, because right now stuff like jugu or mena, which is our local food that we love over there, I now have it. So once in a while when I'm bored with the foreign foods, I obviously just cook for myself. Now, as we speak, I have left the restaurant job. I got an internship exactly 3 weeks ago. So I got an internship at one of the departments here at school related to the program that I'm doing. And it's a good experience so far. I work full time and I have my classes in the evening. Like right now, I just have 10 minutes to my class from 6 p.m. all the way to 9:30. Sometimes it's not easy to juggle, but I think the experience I'm getting from my internship really helps me to compare with what I get from my studies in class. My final word is that I think patience is very important. Even if you are persistent and committed, but you're not patient, sometimes things might not work out. So I think just having a balance between these characters is very important. Sometimes at different stages, what I would encourage guys is that irrespective of the outcome, just consult with the program staff. They will advise you. If something is not working out, it's good to check with the program just to help you. Sometimes you might think it's a difficult thing when it's actually just an easy thing, but patience is very important in this entire process. Otherwise, you just lose out on the entire thing. So for those of you who have not joined the program, or if you're just thinking of coming to the US and study, especially to study and improve yourself academically, I think the Kenya Airlift program is God sent. I would strongly recommend it because without it, despite my persistence and aggressiveness and all that, I would not be here because I got a lot of tips from the program.
You have been watching Success with Bob Mwiti Show, brought to you by Upstake America. Come back again next time to learn concepts, tools, strategies, and resources on the path of becoming a successful immigrant in USA through real-life experiences. Be sure to subscribe to Bob Mwiti channel on YouTube and also follow him on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn.